There's been some times that in my playing career that I've gotten my bell rung pretty good. I had all the things that you're describing. Really, is a pretty good concussion. Didn't get knocked out in the middle of the game. Kind of faked my way through it for the next 5 minutes until I kind of can't come back to myself and continued to play. But I was putting myself really in harm's way by doing that, and didn't really even realize it.
And that was the culture then. I think that it was this, that everybody wanted to be a hero. They didn't want to let their teammates down or their coaches down. And so you were no different than probably 90% of the professional players out there. But I think the NFL has done a much better job in the past few years of trying to change that culture. They realize that young kids look up to the way that they act and perform, and the way that the medical staff within the NFL makes decisions. And so that warrior mentality is not so cool today as it was 15, 25 years ago. And so and the only thing I would add to that, Gordon, is that bell ringers and dings, they're brain injuries.
Yeah.
And we're trying to really remove that terminology of bell ringer and ding from our vocabulary. In fact, we're training kids that you have sustained a brain injury.
Yeah.
And so hopefully we'll get there.
Yeah, that's an important point that you're making, because a brain injury is a serious thing, and we need to take it seriously. So I'm a coach. I'm coaching at a high school or junior high. We don't have a big budget. We're relatively we got a good program, but we don't have the access like a major college does or a professional organization does. What can I do for my players? How can I protect my student athletes and create the culture we're still winning and playing competitive sports?
Right. So prevention begins with education, and so a lot of it is sitting down with your athletes, your parents, your coaches, and educating them about concussions and how something as, and I hesitate to use the word simple, but simple as a concussion can become a catastrophic injury, and get the education in place. And then build a simple baseline testing program. You don't need to have thousands and thousands of dollars to do this. You can use the standardized assessment of concussion, which is a brief pencil paper test, the balance error scoring system, which is a piece of foam and a sheet of paper and a stopwatch, and a symptom checklist. We've put that into many high schools around the country for less than $100. You can put that program in place. Now there certainly are personnel challenges, resources. Who's going to administer the testing? And you can put up gather some school nurses, the local team physicians, some athletic trainers from the community to come in and set up a mass baseline testing within the county or at the school, and get that accomplished in a relatively quick, short period of time.
But the bottom line is that a baseline testing is a critical and important component to the safety of the student athlete.
It really is, and I'm a fan of a comprehensive program. There are certainly schools that have bigger budgets than others, and if you can afford to build in a computerized neuropsych testing program in addition to what I just described, that's really to me the more Cadillac version of that. But certainly some school districts can't afford it, and they don't even have the personnel in place to be able to interpret the findings when they're finished, and so that's why we have this other model. But I do think that baseline testing is an important piece of it.
Tell me about some of the long-term effects. I obviously played at Stanford, and then I played 8 years of pro ball, and so give me. And I know research takes a while to come out, and certainly testing in generations. This is one of the great facilities of doing that here at the University of North Carolina. But talk to me a little bit about some of the long-term effects that you're seeing with athletes that have had some type of impact, and some diagnosed, some undiagnosed. What are some of the things happening with these guys?
That's a great question. So here at the Center for the Study of Retired Athletes, we've also looked at the risk of depression and mild cognitive impairment, which is a precursor to Alzheimer's disease. And we've been studying this in about 3,000 retired NFL football players for the past 8 or 9 years. And we know there is an association or a link between repeated concussion and the risk for these conditions, and about a 5-fold risk of mild cognitive impairment once you've had 3 concussions in your playing career, a risk of about a 3-fold risk of depression after the age of 50 once you've had 3 or more concussions. And so I think it's important that while we were studying an elite level athlete like yourself, it's important to note that very few are going to make it professionally, but we expect that some of those associations are probably there for those that have 3 or 4 concussions in high school, or 3 or 4 in their collegiate career, and they may experience these these late life consequences. And so the research is evolving. We're beginning to look at those that didn't play professionally but played collegiately only, as well as those that just played at the high school level. There also is this old recommendation about waking the athlete up several times in the evening. We would sometimes ask the parent to do that, and for parents out there, that's not what we're recommending today. That getting good sleep the night of after a concussion is important, so that their cognitive function is not compromised the next day because of sleep deprivation. And so if there's any concern that they're moving in the wrong direction, deteriorating, then a physician's going to probably admit that athlete to be observed in the hospital overnight, where they can monitor their vitals and things of that nature and let them get a good night's rest. So that's important.